Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ
and Patrick,
and we're back talking all things real estate. And you know, we are so appreciative of all of our listening audience. I know, Patrick, we enjoy, listening or reading the comments, getting the feedback, right?
Yeah, it's been better than it's ever been before. So
Right.
We're really enjoying that part of like producing this content. And sometimes, it's like maybe people have asked us these questions before, but we're not thinking about that at all times.
Yeah.
But you know what? We thought if somebody else is asking it, somebody else might be thinking of it. So we want to answer those questions as they come in.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'll respond in the comments and that, but, some of these, I think they deserve a video. We do a video response, right?
And some of these questions, the answer is not 2 sentences or a paragraph.
Right. It's a conversation. It's
Yeah.
a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or a question with a lot of moving parts.
So before we get to the question,
Okay.
I want to give a shout out. This is my favorite comment of the week, and it's from Pearly45580. So Pearly and then 4 as an FOR. Oh no, Pearly Fort. I'll type it in somewhere. Pearly Fort 5580. And the comment is really, I feel like this is what our goal of our channel is all about. Good balance in context. Thank you for putting this into perspective instead of adding to the hysteria. I agree banks are not interested in owning our real estate and the foreclosure process is long and tedious. Generally, they would rather work with the homeowners to pay out the debt
They sure would.
than litigate and possibly incur a write-off.
Yep.
Okay, great. And that was a comment on our video, why mortgage troubles in Canada are just starting. 2.2 million mortgages are up for renewal in 2024 and 2025. So that was a response video to a CBC news segment.
Okay. Yeah.
So, all right. But moving on, this is from Nova Island 5504. So thank you so much again for a great question. This is the second response video we've done for this viewer.
Okay.
And I'm not going to read the whole paragraph that she wrote, but she was asking, what are the pitfalls of buying, I'm guessing, a detached home and then with plans of adding a rental suite or maybe an in-law suite? We
Sure.
can talk about both those
Yeah.
things. So that's the question. What are the pitfalls of adding a suite into a single-family home?
I would say the number one is getting the approvals. Not necessarily pitfall. Let's say these are the challenges that you're going to have to work through.
That's a good way to put it, yes. Right, municipalities might require different, like every municipality is not the same.
Yeah.
They might be similar in a lot of ways. We still have a building code.
Yeah. Size of lot, you have to figure, does what you want to do work with the lot that you're dealing with in terms of getting the approvals? This is all, we're still talking about approvals now, because there's we'll talk about a way to do this without getting those approvals, but that's a whole different
That's
animal.
a different ball of wax,
Yeah.
yes. So, and that's a good point, because there could be requirements, like you said, size requirements, if legal suites or non-conforming suites are allowed in a municipality.
Yep. And I think the two other things that go, in my mind, right with that is power.
Good.
So do you have power in the existing property or enough power to take care of that suite?
Right, because we might be adding fridge, stove, washer, dryer,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And I'll give you an example. I had a client where we looked at a property, he liked the property, we wrote the offer, and when we were doing the inspection and the due diligence, we found out that there was not enough, and one of the things he wanted to do was add a suite. And when we looked at it, the power was already maxed. And he just came to the conclusion that there's just no way that we'll get this approved through the municipality because there's not enough power. There's not enough free power.
Exactly. There might not be enough leftover power, and the municipality may or may not require like separate metering for that.
Sure.
That might be desirable too, to have separate
Right.
metering.
Yeah.
But that's another thing to consider.
Right. And part two of that, this happened to be property in Colwood, and so it was on septic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There we go.
Right? And that became part two, is the septic was not going to be able to handle the suite.
So you're going to exceed the capacity of the septic field
Potentially. And as a result, again, you're not going to get that approved.
unless there's an additional cost, either if you're upgrading the power panel.
Right.
Let's say you run everything through the municipality, you do everything with permits, but then a septic field, like, yeah, that's pretty expensive.
To add another tank? Yep.
Yeah, to
Or
expand the
whatever
field
you
whatever.
do. Yeah,
I'm not a
whatever
septic
needs to
guy,
happen.
right?
I don't know either. But the point is, there's a process in those permits where the approval process is not just walk in, here's my plan, and let's do it. Right?
Right, because there's going to be conditions like to make it not only like safe, but have the capacity to have those extra bodies using appliances or toilets and showers and things like that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I would even add, like, there's plenty of homes out there that do not have legal suites. They're sort of non-conforming. And, parking is an issue. Access is an issue. Basement height requirements.
Yeah.
How many places have we seen where, like, the basement height is really low, but they stuck in a suite in there somehow anyways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I sold one.
There's plenty,
Or more than one over the years.
with disclosures and all that, right? So
Yeah.
people know what the risks are.
Yeah, because
going
just so we
going
understand,
into a
also here,
illegal suite.
Yeah, if we're talking about basement height, 6'5" is the code.
Okay. Right. So, I've seen plenty that are less than that.
That's right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, right. But you have to think about, if you're going to be putting it in there, you can't just have 6.5 feet or 6'5"
Yeah.
Because, like, once you put in down your flooring, your subfloor, and then your drywall, insulation, anything else above, how many inches you're going to lose?
Yep.
You could lose a few inches pretty quickly and then be under height.
Yep. Yep. So I guess that's the first thing. It's just getting the approvals figured out and worked out. And the other part in terms of pitfall is the potential additional cost when you're doing a full build on versus renovating. There's still potential unforeseen costs when you do a renovation and add a suite.
Anytime you rip open a wall, you might find other problems.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think if you're talking about starting from scratch, I'm going to build onto the side of the home.
Yeah.
That might actually be easier because you know what you're dealing with. You're just digging a hole or however you're getting in there and going through one wall in theory.
Right. That might be ideal. It might be more expensive,
Yeah.
but that it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I think there might be. We don't know all of the parameters that municipalities might ask for, but like safety and insurance. A lot of times you want a decent access, like probably 2 ways of exiting the property.
Yeah.
And safety if it's fire or anything else like that, right? So, is there? We could go down the rabbit hole a little bit with tenants. I think everybody knows, like, screening your tenants the best you can.
Yeah.
You're kind of taking your chances no matter what. You might feel that you get a great tenant, and they might turn into a bad tenant over time.
Sure.
You don't know, right?
Yeah.
So considering all of those things, obviously, we talked about it in another video where, like, rents have been in the highest they've been in the past 30 years.
30 years.
Well, it might be a really good mortgage helper at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a balance to this, like having other people living in the same building as you.
Yeah.
To have that benefit.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're building something on, it's just you're taking on a lot. So you need to know, here's the other thing that you need to know is you need to know that the lot is going to work for an add-on.
Yeah, there's going to be setbacks in the zoning.
Right. And not only that, just topography and logistics of what's there.
Right, because what if your backyard's a cliff?
Sure.
One way or the other,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
What's the other hot topic is like putting a nanny suite in the yard,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of like, not the micro housing. I've got clients that they built onto it. They're in Saanich, and they did everything by the book, got a contractor to do it all. But there's like not cohabitating with aging parents.
Yeah.
This was a way to solve, like, instead of having them in the basement, in the dungeon of a house, dungeon. It was an old house. Okay. But they probably need all that room for storage.
Sure.
So it's probably not the best place for a
Yeah.
suite, but the yard was big enough. They thought, like, well, what if we built basically it's not a condo, but basically it's like a 2-bedroom little house
Right.
in the yard.
Sure.
And that worked out well for them.
Yeah.
Now, it was expensive.
I was going to say that's a whole different deal because you're building a
was
little house.
Yeah. It wasn't a carriage house. It wasn't like a garage and then something
Yeah.
above that, which there are properties like that in
Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
But just building like a 2-bedroom little bungalow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it add value to the property? I think having a detached suite is more desirable than having like a basement suite inside of a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or anywhere attached to the house all day long.
I think rule of thumb, anytime you're adding a suite, you're going to add value to the home.
Yeah, that's pretty safe to say.
I
Right?
think that's a simple.
Oh, I'll add more to that.
Okay.
You know, when we look at law of supply and demand,
Yeah.
and people want to move into a better neighborhood, and sometimes being able to buy a house with a suite, to have a mortgage helper, to get them into that neighborhood,
Right.
that's a better neighborhood than they would have been able to afford.
Sure.
Otherwise, or if it's not better, what if the proximity is better? So you cut
Yeah.
your commute time.
Sure.
But you ended up committing into a larger mortgage, but then you have this rental as
Yeah.
a subsidy
Well, and
to get into that area.
yeah, and I know situations where the buyer actually moved into the suite. It was a nice suite, right, with a walkout and everything. It was very nice, but they moved into the suite, and then they rented out the rest of the house.
Right, and then so this is still like a limited supply market. If you were looking at like, well, how many houses with suites in a certain price range, you're going to find a lot more houses without a suite. So there's not as many as you might think. So
Yeah.
there's probably still more buyers looking for that type of home, because I think they want to take advantage
Yeah.
of the mortgage helper, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of like a detached with no suite.
Right.
I think everybody's ultimate goal is to like not have a house with a suite,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
the suite is a means to an end
Sure.
to get into
But
like.
you know what I think about? We did a tour of that house on Bear Mountain, Sandstone Lane. Beautiful home, brand new home, beautiful home, but it has a 2-bedroom suite. Beautiful, separate entrance, everything else. So you're buying it's over $1 million, $1.4 million or more, but they built it with a suite.
Right. But that was like purpose built.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I guess we're going to go back to the question: what are the pitfalls of building out a suite on the outside? I think there's just a lot of planning that goes into that, both architecturally and then by extension with the municipality, and then everything with trades and getting all the work done and making sure that it's all reputably done and permitted and so forth. Versus you can have in-law suites, which might be a kitchenette and a bathroom and a bedroom.
Yes. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. That maybe it doesn't have to be a full suite, right? I'll throw a curveball into this one, right? Something you might not think of. And we're talking like fairly general about like general pitfalls. Obviously, there might be something more specific. I'll give you an example. Salt Spring Island.
Okay.
Try to add a suite or build something new in Salt Spring Island.
Yeah.
There's a limited amount of water.
Right.
So unless that is solved, they're not expanding,
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a side note.
Yeah.
And something to look out for if you're looking at building onto one of the Gulf Islands in our beautiful archipelago. You like that word? Archipelago.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
right. There we go.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. And if you have some questions, certainly put it in the comments, because as you see, we love reading your comments and we enjoy talking about your questions, your comments. We go through all of them. We look at all of them. And so you can do that. And if you haven't, please take a minute and subscribe to the channel. Just helps us with growing the channel. We're putting out 3+ videos every week. So you want to make sure that you get notifications for all of those, and subscribing will take care of that.
Yeah, and if you want to, if you have any questions about the Victoria market, Southern Vancouver Island, you're thinking about buying or selling in the area, then we can help you out with that. And just reach out to us, and we will help you.
All right.
Thank you so much
See
for
ya.
watching.